Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today is a very special reunion 2020 episode. What is that? That's when I bring on a guest I had on in the past, and I liked them so much I brought him on back. So today's guest is Phil Gibson, and he's the Vice President of Marketing over at AEssenseGrows. Phil, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks. It's great to see you again.
Oh man! So when I saw the topic we're going to be getting into today, I mean, obviously cannabis business, a lot of news around that, and a lot of things, just relevant that we're seeing. And I've been bringing on more and more guests that have, different views in different areas of, depending on what side of the supply chain they're at. And you're obviously on. Let's just start off, by the way. So I don't want to assume that everybody got a lot of new listeners. We had a great year on the podcast. Don't want to assume that our new listeners got a chance to start to listen to your last episode we recorded. That was quite some time ago. Let's just start out with what you're doing over at AEssenseGrows. So tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, so AEssenseGrows, as we covered a little bit last time, is an indoor farming company. We focus on high-value plants, and in North America, that's clearly cannabis. Beginning to see a lot of things around the area of hemp. But that's really trying to grow things indoors with new technology called aeroponics. And that's where we mist the plants with the perfect nutrient recipe, spray them with bare roots. There's no soil involved in the process. So it's a very different way of growing relative to the way things have been done historically. We were founded in late 2015, got our first product out in 2016. And I'm happy to say that we've had a lot of success going after this sort of old school method of growing. And we just finished our last fiscal year in 2020 as a startup. We're still privately held at this point, but we closed out at $8.7 million in sales, and we were profitable for the first time in that
Man,
phase.
Congratulations. That's absolutely amazing. First, congrats. Amazing.
Yeah, so that's really good news. So over the course of that handful of years, we've been doubling or tripling revenue every year and, improving profitability. But we introduced 21 customers last quarter. So the business is really beginning to get into that early adoption phase where companies begin to take on new technology. We've always had kind of a single-layer growing environment, but we then introduced the ability to do early-stage plants, like called clone and veg plants in this business, and we're able to then put those in a stacked environment. So it's a 4-layer stacked growing environment that's kind of typical for advanced indoor farming nowadays. So we've got this stacked environment for early plants. But what we did this year, we just introduced in December our double-deck flowering environment. And so that's for mature plants. And the reason that's important is that's really the payload of the cannabis or the hemp business. So the things that flower and produce the buds that are very high in the THC and CBD, which are the things you can remarket and sell to consumers and the industry. And so that double-deck platform, effectively doubles the output per square foot of a building and continues to accelerate a concept that was created by Professor Coelho at the University of Arizona, and he's in the indoor farming space. And he came up with a concept called Coelho's Law, which is very analogous to Moore's Law in the semiconductor business. And Coelho's Law is that indoor farming will be doubling the density and yields of indoor farming every 2 to 3 years. And so the double-deck environment is just a great example of that technology edge and innovation really continuing. Another thing we did this year was, beyond standard things like UL certification and really professionalizing the platform, we also came out with CE certification for Europe, and that really enables the expansion into precision medical grow technologies that are required for things like Europe and some of the more advanced technology markets for this business. So that's very exciting stuff. The fact that everything we do is precision sensor based, and all of these plants are being modeled and tracked and followed as they grow, and that's all data logged to the Amazon Web Services, the AWS Cloud, about once a minute. And so all those sensors are then traceable. So every grow cycle and harvest can be tracked and replayed and compared to the next grow cycle and harvest. And so really advanced A/B testing can happen. And so the big summary of all of that is that, the existing way of growing cannabis and indoor farming is usually in soil or in soil alternatives with something called coco coir, which is not dirt, but it's like shaved coconut shells, but it's really good at kind of holding plant roots. Mm-hmm. Aeroponics skips all of that and goes right to, let's just have the plants mounted in a tray and have the roots sprayed with the recipe, and so it can be managed with sensors and technology. And the comparison is really, one is very similar to the horse and buggy. Back around the turn of the century, we had great blacksmiths that could take care of horses, and you could drive those horse wagons really fast, but you're comparing it to a Tesla. And that's really kind of the comparison of this new technology that's changing the way that the industry is doing things. So that's kind of a quick summary of AEssenseGrows and kind of the impact we're having on the market. We're really the Tesla approaching the horse and buggy and replacing it in places where people want to make a much higher profit in a certain space.
So increasing, for the cannabis industry, it's pretty common sense. Increasing density and yields, is a game changer, right? So either less real estate, or for the real estate you already do, for the newcomers, right? Or for those that already have operations, they're really just maximizing the per square foot of what they're already doing, right? There's
absolutely.
More
and so in a single layer, if you're producing in the Tesla mode with AEssenseGrows, you're producing 1 pound per square foot or more, and the old method was producing 1/10 of a pound or 1/5 of a pound per square foot, you've already got something that's 5 to 10 times as much. And when you introduce something like the double deck platform, now you're looking at something that is 10 to 20 times as much yield in the same facility. And so it's a very dramatic advantage. And that same yield, at the same time, you've eliminated soils, so you've eliminated 70% of the labor in managing an operation. You've eliminated soil, so that means you have almost no pest management to deal with, so much lower costs for managing the facility. And that frees up the labor you do have to be more intelligent about how it treats the plant. So the cost of your facility is just plummeting. And so we're doing things that probably, a fifth the cost of a typical operation. We're getting down to 20, 30 cents a gram of manufacturing cost. So people have much higher yields. As a result, they have much lower cost. And now they can hit the market at a very different level. And this is very important to this industry right now because the current trends are very dramatic. And, I don't know if you want to transition to that, but the profitability of this industry has been a disaster.
How so?
If you look at Q4 of last year, Q4 of 2019, there was only one company out of 300 public corporations tracked in the cannabis space that made money.
Wow.
Some of them lost hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter.
Really?
Yeah. And so that...
so the green rush might not be a rush to... is it the old adage of who's selling the picks and the shovels, or what?
Yeah. So the gold rush was really 2017, 2018. You had enormous expansion in market caps and unreal expectations and huge multi-billion-dollar investments by tobacco companies and other companies who were starting to touch the market with the expectation it was going to go forever. Those were the halcyon days of the gold rush. But 2019 was a crash, and suddenly people started looking at the losses and the cost of production versus the market pricing, and the markets weren't coming on as fast as people thought they were, and things like that. And so that was really the crush year last year. And as a result, you had major marquee companies in the cannabis space like Canopy Growth, Kronos Group, Hexo, Tilray, and just literally today, Sundial, all of them replaced their founder CEOs. And the boards have now gotten involved, and so they're inserting professional managers and very experienced high finance CFOs with decision-making capabilities. So where historically the founder CEO rose the startup, went to great unicorn levels, now we're kind of to the real, nuts and bolts of business, and the dollars and cents CFOs are in there making decisions on profit and loss. So as a result, you see layoffs in the cannabis industry. You see a cutback in plans and expansion ideas. So many, many companies are really in the curtailing phase. And the reason is cash. If you're burning $30 million or $50 million or $100 million a quarter in losses, you have to have the cash to actually pay those bills and continue your operations. And so cash is now becoming a major issue. And I would think anyone who's watching this market is watching the cash balances of these small new corporations, primarily in Canada. But there are some in the U.S. as well, but they are really being watched. So, 2017-18 was the boom years. 19 was the crash. 2020 is sort of the let's come back to reality window.
So, Phil, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on AEssenseGrows, what's the best route for them to follow up and to get more info?
Well, I mean, if you look at just one more thing on the markets. If we look at the overall markets, Canada is kind of in this execution phase. North America is big in new states. So in the states like Oklahoma or Chicago or Illinois or maybe New York here shortly, as those flip to legal states, there's a lot of new activity in those. Globally, South Africa is really a big boom market. Israel is taking off, and Israel is having some nice activity, and you see some precision activity in Europe. And then China is really picking off into hemp. And so Essence is selling into all those markets. And I think, barring any more, or actually adding these crazy weather events like locust famines in North Africa and wildfires in Africa and, massive hailstorms in Spain. I mean, all those things are driving things indoors. Essence is really a player for all of those. So finding EssenseGrows the website is the best target, and that's www.AEssenseGrows.com, and that's AEssense grows.com. It's kind of tough to spell. But that's really the quickest way to touch us, look at the information, catch up with what we're doing, and maybe check out our ideas and what we can do.
All great stuff over there, man. So congrats again on the growth of the company, on profitability, on expanding and expansion, and all the great things you're doing out there to help everyone with high value plants. So great stuff there. And thanks for coming back on the show, Phil. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, don't forget to leave some comments on the video. I'd love to hear your thought process on what's going on out there. And Phil, thanks again for coming on.
Sure thing. Appreciate your time.